I sat at my parents' Thanksgiving table in their suburban Phoenix home, fork halfway to my mouth, when my mother let out this laugh. Not a warm laugh, the kind that cuts. My father joined in, and they both looked at my sister Jessica's kids, then at mine. Dad said it first. "Your kids will never be as successful as your sisters." Just like that. My wife Sarah went still beside me. My son Tommy looked down at his plate. I stood up, chair scraping loud against the floor. "Then tell her to pay all the bills," I said. "I am not sending money anymore." Mom froze, her face going white. "What money? We never got a cent from you." The room went silent. My daughter Emma was staring at me with wide eyes. Jessica's kids, 11 and 13, looked confused. My sister sat there, suddenly very interested in the turkey on her plate. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and started scrolling through my bank app. The blood was pounding in my ears. I turned the phone toward my parents. "Every month for 5 years," I said. $1,200. "To the account number you gave me, Mom. That is $73,000. My mother's hand went to her throat. My father leaned forward, squinting at the screen. I scrolled through the transfers. October, September, August, going back and back and back. All the way to 5 years ago when my parents had called me, stressed about medical bills and property taxes, when Mom had struggled to make ends meet after Dad's hip replacement surgery. "That is not our account," my father said quietly. "What?" "The routing number. That is not our bank." My mother grabbed the phone from my hand and stared at it. Her finger traced the numbers. "This is 1 digit off," she whispered. 1 digit off from our actual account." I looked at Jessica. She had gone pale, her fork clattering onto her plate. "I have no idea whose account that is," she said quickly. "Maybe there was a banking error 5 years ago." Sarah leaned over and looked at my phone. She turned to Jessica. "You always seem to have money for nice things," she said. "New car 2 years ago. That kitchen remodel. Those family trips to California." "I gave you that number, Mom," I said. "You called me, told me the routing and account numbers. I repeated them back to you. You confirmed them." Jessica stood up, her chair scraping back. "I think I am getting a headache," she said. "Kids, we should go." "No," I said. "We are figuring this out right now. I am calling the bank Monday morning." Jessica's face flushed red. "You think I stole from you? From Mom and Dad? How dare you accuse me of something like that?" "I did not accuse you of anything," I said. "I just said the money went somewhere, and we need to find out where." "This is ridiculous," Jessica said. She grabbed her purse. She looked at our parents. "I will help you investigate this," she said to them. "It is obviously a banking error. Rene probably wrote down the wrong number 5 years ago and never caught it. But I remembered that phone call so clearly. Mom's voice, tired and embarrassed, giving me the numbers, me repeating them back, digit by digit. Her saying, "Yes, that is correct. Thank you so much, honey." Jessica was already ushering her kids toward the door. "I really do not feel well," she said. "We will talk about this later." She was gone before anyone could respond. The front door closed with a soft click that somehow felt louder than a slam. My parents sat there looking shell-shocked. My father rubbed his face with both hands. "Your mother and I really never got that money," he said. "I believe you," I said. On the drive home, Sarah reached over and squeezed my hand. "I never trusted her," she said quietly. "Your sister. There were always little things that did not add up." "Like what?" "She would talk about being broke, but then show up in designer clothes. She would complain about her ex not paying child support, but her kids always had the newest phones and gaming systems. I thought maybe she was just bad with money. But now," Sarah trailed off. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. $73,000. Gone. My parents never got the help they desperately needed, and I had thought I was being a good son this whole time. I had thought I was helping. At home that night, I could not sleep. I kept running the numbers through my head. $1,200 a month, times 12 months, times 5 years. That money could have paid for so many things. Tommy's braces, Emma's summer camp, the new roof we kept putting off, Sarah's car repairs we had gone into credit card debt for, and my parents. My parents, struggling with medical bills, property taxes, basic expenses, thinking their son had forgotten about them, thinking I did not care. I felt like a failure. A complete failure. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. I am an accountant at a mid-size firm, and I had 3 client meetings scheduled, but I did not care. I could not focus on anyone else's numbers when my own financial life was unraveling. Sarah came with me to the bank. We sat in the branch manager's office, a woman named Patricia Ramirez, who pulled up the account information on her computer. The account is registered under the name Frank and Linda Morrison Trust, she said. Frank and Linda Morrison were my parents. My hands clenched into fists on my lap. Who has access to the account? Sarah asked. Patricia clicked through several screens. Jessica Morrison is listed as the trustee and sole authorized user. I felt sick. Can you show us the transaction history? Patricia hesitated. I can show you the deposits, since those came from your account. But the withdrawals, that is account holder information. But it is fraud, I said. She stole from me. I understand, Patricia said gently. But I need a police report before I can freeze the account or provide detailed transaction records. What I can tell you is that regular withdrawals have been made. Cash withdrawals and transfers to an external account. How much has she taken out? All of it. There is currently $347 in the account. $73,000, reduced to $347. I wanted to throw up. We went straight from the bank to the police station. The detective who took my statement was a guy in his mid-40s, named Marcus Patterson. He listened to everything, taking notes, his expression neutral. When I finished, he sat back in his chair. This is complicated, he said. Complicated how? She stole $73,000 from me. Here is the issue. Detective Patterson pulled out a file. We have documents on record that show your parents signed a power of attorney to your sister 3 years ago. It is filed with the county clerk. These documents give her legal authority to manage their financial affairs. My parents never signed that, I said. They say they did not? They do not remember signing anything like that. They are 71 years old, but they are not senile. They would remember giving my sister power of attorney. The detective sighed. The problem is, Mr. Morrison, this might be a civil matter rather than criminal. If the documents are legitimate, your sister had legal authority to set up that trust account, whether or not your parents actually asked her to do it, if she has the paperwork. So she can just steal from me and get away with it? I am not saying that. I am saying you need your parents to come in and file a complaint themselves. They need to state on record that they never signed those documents, that they never authorized any trust account, and that they never gave your sister financial control. Fine, I said. I will bring them in this week. But when I got to my parents' house that afternoon, Jessica was already there. She was sitting on the couch between Mom and Dad, a stack of official-looking papers spread out on the coffee table. She looked up when I walked in, and something flashed in her eyes. Triumph, maybe. Oh, good, she said. Rene, I was just showing Mom and Dad the paperwork for the trust account. What paperwork? She held up a document. The trust was set up 3 years ago, just like the detective said. Mom and Dad signed papers, authorizing me to manage certain financial matters for them, including setting up accounts to help organize their finances. I moved closer and looked at the papers. There was a notary seal, signatures that looked like my parents' handwriting. The date was from 3 years back. Mom, Dad, did you sign this? My mother looked confused. She touched the paper gently. I do not remember, she said. Was this when we signed those healthcare directive forms? This is different from healthcare directives, I said. My father was studying the signature. That looks like my signature, he said slowly. Jessica leaned forward. You gave Rene the account number for the trust, Mom. Remember? You told him it was a special account I was helping you set up to manage your expenses better. That way, Rene's monthly contributions could go toward a long-term care fund. I felt like I was going insane. That is not what happened, I said. Mom gave me what she thought was your regular account number. She never mentioned anything about a trust or Jessica managing it. Rene, are you sure? Jessica asked. Her voice was so reasonable, so concerned. Maybe you misunderstood, or maybe the stress at work is affecting your memory. My stress at work? What are you talking about? Jessica looked at our parents. Sarah mentioned you have been under a lot of pressure lately, making mistakes at the office. That was true. I had been distracted, made some errors on a client account a few weeks back. My supervisor had noticed. But how did Jessica know about that? You guys talked to Sarah? I asked. I called to check on you, Jessica said. I was worried, and Sarah mentioned you have been forgetting things. Seemed stressed. I looked at the notary seal on the document. The notary's name was printed clearly, Martha Westfield. If this was real, if my parents really had signed this 3 years ago, then maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe I had misunderstood everything 5 years ago. But that did not make sense. I remembered that conversation so clearly. I need to take this to a handwriting expert, I said, to verify the signatures. Jessica's face hardened for just a second before smoothing back into concern. If you want to waste money on that, she said. But the signatures are notarized. They are legal. I will waste my money however I want, I said. She stood up, gathering the papers. I am trying to help, Rene. I am trying to take care of Mom and Dad. If you want to make this difficult, that is your choice. But maybe you should ask yourself why you are so quick to blame me for your own mistakes. She left with the papers. My parents sat there looking at me with confusion and something else. Doubt. They were doubting me. Their own son. I drove home feeling like I had been punched in the stomach. Sarah was in the kitchen when I walked in. She took one look at my face and came over to hug me. I believe you, she said. But what if I am wrong? What if I did misunderstand 5 years ago? You did not, she said firmly. I know you. You are an accountant. You do not make mistakes with numbers, but we could not afford a handwriting expert. Those cost thousands of dollars. Money we did not have now that we had lost $73,000. Money we did not have, because I had been so sure I was helping my parents, and it had all been a lie. The next few days were a nightmare. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family members. Extended family I only saw at holidays, aunts and uncles and cousins, all of them telling me I was wrong. All of them saying I should apologize to Jessica. Cousin Amanda sent a long text about how Jessica had shown her all the trust documents. They look completely legitimate, she wrote. Maybe you should let this go. Uncle Robert called me directly. Your sister is trying to help your parents, he said. Why are you being so cruel to her? Aunt Patricia suggested I see a therapist. She said it gently, but the implication was clear. She thought I was having some kind of breakdown. I realized Jessica had gotten to all of them. She had called everyone in the family, painted herself as the victim, and made me look like the villain. Then I heard about the dinner. My parents hosted a small gathering at their house. Just them, Jessica, and her 2 kids. My family was not invited. I only found out because Emma saw photos on social media. Jessica's daughter had posted pictures to her account. My parents smiling. Jessica hugging them. The caption read, "Grateful for family who actually cares." Emma showed me the phone screen. Why were not we invited to Grandma and Grandpa's house? She asked. I did not have an answer. 2 days later, my house phone rang in the evening. It was Jessica. Before I could say anything, she asked to speak to Tommy and Emma. Sarah looked at me uncertainly. I nodded. What else could I do? She was their aunt. Sarah put the phone on speaker so we could hear. Jessica's voice came through, sweet and gentle. Hi, sweethearts, she said. I just wanted to call and say I love you both so much. We love you too, Aunt Jessica, Emma said. I wanted you to know that your daddy is going through a really hard time right now. He is very stressed about work and other things. Grandma and Grandpa are worried about him. Is Daddy sick? Emma asked. He is just stressed, honey. Sometimes when grown-ups get really stressed, they say things that do not make sense. If your daddy seems angry or says strange things, it is just because he is not feeling well right now. Okay? Okay, Tommy said quietly. After the call ended, Emma looked at me. Are you sick, Daddy? No, sweetheart. I am fine, but Aunt Jessica said you are not feeling well. Aunt Jessica is mistaken, I said. But Emma looked at me differently after that. Like she was not quite sure. Like maybe I was lying. At work, things got worse. I had been distracted, and it showed. I made another error on a tax filing for a major client. My supervisor, Gary Hendricks, called me into his office. He closed the door and sat on the edge of his desk. Rene, what is going on? He asked. This is not like you. I have some family issues, I said. I appreciate you telling me that, but personal problems cannot affect the quality of your work. Our clients trust us with sensitive financial information. We cannot have errors like this. I understand. It will not happen again. Gary sighed. I am putting a formal warning in your file. One more mistake, and we will have to discuss your future here. I left his office, feeling like my entire life was crumbling. My job was the one stable thing I had left, and now that was in jeopardy too. That evening, Sarah and I sat at the kitchen table, after the kids went to bed. We need to talk about getting a lawyer, she said. A lawyer will cost at least $5,000 for a retainer. We do not have that. We could borrow from my parents. I shook my head. I am not borrowing money. Not after this. Then what do we do? Just let Jessica get away with it? I do not know, I said. Sarah reached across and took my hand. Maybe, she said slowly. Maybe we should just let it go. Move on. Is it really worth tearing the family apart? She stole $73,000 from me. I know. But we cannot prove it. We cannot afford a lawyer. You are about to lose your job. The kids are upset. Your parents believe her. Maybe we just have to accept that sometimes bad people win. I pulled my hand away. I cannot accept that. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I am scared, Rene. I am scared we are going to lose everything fighting a battle we cannot win. I did not have an answer for her, because she was right to be scared. The next week, I got a call from my parents' lawyer. His name was Donald Chen, and he had handled their estate planning for 20 years. I had known him since I was a teenager. Rene, he said, his voice apologetic. I am calling to inform you that your parents have made some changes to their will. What kind of changes? They have removed you as a beneficiary and executor. Jessica is now the sole heir and executor of their estate. I sat down hard on my couch. Why? They did not give me specifics. But they seemed convinced this was the right decision. After I hung up, I just sat there. My parents' house was worth about $350,000. It was their only real asset, and now Jessica would inherit all of it. She had positioned herself perfectly. She had stolen my money, turned my family against me, and now she was going to get my parents' entire estate when they died. Sarah came into the living room and saw my face. What happened? They changed the will. Everything goes to Jessica now. She sank down next to me. We sat there in silence for a long time. 3 weeks after the Thanksgiving disaster, I was sitting at my desk at work when my phone buzzed with a credit alert. New account opened in your name. I frowned and opened the notification. It was a personal loan from an online lender. $15,000. I had never applied for any loan. My heart started racing. I logged into my credit monitoring account and pulled up my full credit report. What I saw made my stomach drop. There were 3 other loans I had never applied for. One for $12,000, another for $8,000, a third for $7,000, $42,000 total in fraudulent loans. I called each lender immediately. The representatives all said the same thing. The applications came through online. They were approved based on my credit score and income verification. The money was sent to an address I had never heard of. I wrote down the address. It was in Phoenix, but not anywhere near my house or my parents' house. I told each lender this was identity theft. They all said I needed to file a police report and dispute the charges. The process could take months. Meanwhile, the loans were on my credit report, tanking my score. I left work early and drove straight to the police station. Detective Patterson looked up when I walked into his office. His expression shifted when he saw my face. "She did it again," I said. I showed him the loan information. The detective studied the papers. "Same address for all of them?" "Yes. It is a storage facility." We got a warrant and went to the storage place that afternoon. The manager pulled up the rental agreement on his computer. The unit was rented under my name, my social security number. But the signature on the rental agreement was not mine. The manager would not let me into the unit without the police present, but I could see through a gap in the door. There were boxes stacked inside. I could see the edge of a large flat-screen television, furniture, electronics. Detective Patterson got a warrant to search the unit. It took 2 days. When they finally opened it, they found exactly what I expected. Expensive items, computers, a sound system, designer handbags, all purchased with the loan money. They also found receipts. Purchase receipts with Jessica's handwriting on some of them. But when Detective Patterson brought Jessica in for questioning, she had an answer ready. She said I had given her permission to use my credit, that I was helping her through a financial hardship. She even had text messages that appeared to show me agreeing to let her open accounts in my name. "Those messages are fake," I told the detective. "I never sent those. Can you prove they are fake?" I do not know how she did it. Spoofed my number somehow. But I never sent them. The detective looked tired. "Mr. Morrison, this is getting very complicated. Without concrete proof, this becomes," he said, she said. "She has stolen over $100,000 from me. How is that not proof?" "Because she has documents and messages that make it look like you authorized everything. You need better evidence." I left the station feeling defeated. That is when things got even worse. A week later, someone knocked on my door. It was a process server. I was being served with a restraining order. Jessica had filed a complaint with Adult Protective Services, claiming I had financially abused my parents for years. She alleged that I had coerced them into giving me money, using their age and confusion to manipulate them. The restraining order said I could not contact my parents directly. An APS investigator named Karen Wu was assigned to the case. The investigator showed up at my parents' house to interview them. Jessica was there during the interview, claiming she was just there to support them. My parents, coached by Jessica or maybe just confused, said things that sounded bad. They suggested maybe I had pressured them for money. They said they could not remember clearly what had happened. The investigators saw an elderly couple and a concerned daughter helping them. She believed Jessica's version of events. Then Child Protective Services got involved. Someone had called in an anonymous tip saying my children were living in an unstable, potentially abusive environment. A CPS worker named Donald Price showed up at my house without warning. He asked to speak to Tommy and Emma separately. Sarah and I had to let him. We sat in the kitchen while he interviewed our kids in the living room. I could hear Tommy's small voice answering questions. I could hear Emma saying something about how I had been acting different lately. When the CPS worker came back into the kitchen, his face was serious. "I am opening an investigation," he said. "There are some concerning statements from your children." "What statements?" "That will be in my report. For now, I need to schedule follow-up visits, home checks, more interviews." After he left, I asked Emma what she had told him. She started crying. "I am sorry, Daddy. He asked if you ever get really angry. And I remembered what Aunt Jessica said, about you acting different. So I said yes. Sometimes you seem sad and angry." I hugged her. "It is okay, sweetie. You just told the truth." But it was not okay. Nothing was okay. 2 days later, Gary called me into his office again. I need to inform you that we received a notification about an ongoing investigation, he said. Child Protective Services and Adult Protective Services investigations. These create liability issues for the firm. We cannot have an accountant with access to client financial data who is under investigation for financial abuse. I am the victim, I said. I am not abusing anyone. I understand that is your position. But until the investigations are resolved, I have to suspend you without pay. I was suspended. No income. Bills piling up. A mortgage payment due in 2 weeks. Car payments. Credit card debt from covering expenses we thought we would have money for. And now no way to pay any of it. That night, Sarah was crying in our bedroom. I cannot do this anymore, she said. CPS is investigating us. You have no job. We have no money. Your family will not talk to us. Our kids are scared. She did not say she wanted a divorce, but she said she needed space. Said maybe she should take Tommy and Emma to her mother's house in Colorado for a while. Just until things settled down. I did not argue. What could I say? Everything she said was true. After Sarah went to bed in the guest room, I sat alone in the living room. My sister had destroyed my entire life. I had lost the money, lost my relationship with my parents, lost my extended family's respect, lost my job, potentially losing my wife and kids, all because Jessica wanted to steal from me, and she was smart enough to cover her tracks. I felt completely defeated. There was no way to prove anything. Every move I made, Jessica was 3 steps ahead. She had built this elaborate web of lies and false documents, and I was trapped in it. I thought about just giving up, just walking away from everything, starting over somewhere else. But I could not even do that. Where would I go? How would I support myself? And I would never abandon my kids. I sat there in the dark, feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my life. The next few weeks blurred together in a haze of anxiety and bureaucracy. The CPS investigation meant scheduled home visits. A social worker coming to inspect our house, interview us separately, watch how we interacted with Tommy and Emma. The kids were confused and scared. Why do we have to talk to these people? Emma asked. Did we do something wrong? No, baby. You did not do anything wrong. But it felt like we had. It felt like we were being punished for something. The APS investigation continued. The investigator interviewed family members, interviewed Jessica, who played her role perfectly, the concerned daughter trying to protect her elderly parents from a manipulative son. I was not allowed to be present for any of these interviews because of the restraining order. My credit was completely destroyed. The fraudulent loans showed up on my report, dragging my score down by over 200 points. Disputing them was a slow process. Fill out this form. Mail it here. Wait 6 to 8 weeks for a response. Meanwhile, creditors started calling. The loan companies wanted their money. I had to hire a lawyer after all. Not the kind I wanted. The kind who could aggressively fight Jessica. Just a basic attorney to help me navigate the CPS and APS investigations. His retainer was $3,000. We had to borrow it from Sarah's parents, which was humiliating. Then one afternoon, I was sitting in my car in a hospital parking lot. I had a court-ordered therapy evaluation scheduled, part of the CPS requirements. I was early, so I was just sitting there, staring at nothing. That is when I saw Jessica. She was walking into the hospital, not the main entrance where I was parked, the oncology wing entrance on the side of the building. I watched her go in, watched her check in at a reception desk through the glass windows. I was too far away to hear, but I saw the receptionist smile and say something. Jessica nodded and sat down in the waiting area. I got out of my car. I do not know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe just desperate for any information about her that I could use. I walked closer to the oncology wing, staying out of sight. Through the window, I watched Jessica get called back. She stood up and followed a nurse through a door marked treatment area. I waited in my car for 3 hours. I missed my therapy appointment. I just sat there, watching the oncology wing entrance, Finally, Jessica came out. She looked exhausted. Her face was pale. She was moving slowly, carefully, like everything hurt. She was holding discharge papers. I followed her car at a distance, watched her drive home, watched her sit in her driveway for 10 minutes before getting out. She looked like she could barely walk. The next day, I called the hospital. I pretended to be Jessica's husband. I know that was wrong. I knew it even as I was doing it. But I was desperate. I asked about appointment scheduling. The receptionist mentioned Dr. Ramirez in oncology. Would I like to schedule a follow-up? I hung up. Oncology. Jessica was seeing an oncology doctor. That meant cancer. I did something I am not proud of. Late that night, I drove to Jessica's house. She lived just 3 streets away from my parents, in a neighborhood I knew well. I waited until all the lights were out in her house. Then I went through her trash bins at the curb. Recycling day was the next morning. I found them in the recycling bin. Medical documents. She had thrown them away without shredding them. Patient, Jessica Morrison. Diagnosis, Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Date of diagnosis, 8 months ago. 8 months ago. That was 1 month before the fraudulent loans started appearing in my name. Prognosis, 6 to 12 months, with treatment. Treatment notes. Patient expresses significant anxiety regarding children's future financial security. No family support system. Concerned about what will happen to children after patient's death. I sat there in my car, holding those papers, and everything suddenly made sense. Jessica was dying. She was a single mother. Her ex-husband paid minimal child support. Her kids were everything to her. And she was going to die and leave them with nothing. So she had orchestrated this entire scheme. Steal my monthly payments to our parents, $73,000. Take out loans in my name, $42,000. Position herself to inherit our parents' house, $350,000. All to leave her children financially secure after she died. I drove home and did not sleep. I just lay there in bed, staring at the ceiling. On one hand, my sister was dying and trying to provide for her children. On the other hand, she was destroying my life to do it. My kids were suffering because of her actions. My marriage was falling apart. I had lost my job. I was under investigation by CPS and APS. Did her dying excuse what she had done? I sent her a text message. I know about the cancer. We need to talk. She did not respond for 2 days. Then she called. Her voice was weak but defiant. Yes, I am dying, she said. Yes, I took your money. Yes, I forged the documents. Are you happy now? My kids are suffering, I said. My wife is leaving me. I lost my job. You are destroying my family. Your kids have 2 parents, she said. Mine will have nobody. You have a wife, you have a job, or you will again. You have a future. I have 6 months, maybe less. That does not give you the right to steal from me, doesn't it? When I am dead, and my kids are living with their deadbeat father in some trailer, will you feel good about your moral victory? There had to be another way. You could have just asked me for help. She laughed, bitter and harsh. Would you have given me $100,000? Be honest. I do not know. Maybe. If I had known, you would not have. Nobody would. So I took it, and I would do it again. She hung up. The next day, she sent me a text. Keep quiet. Let things stay as they are. When I die, I will leave a confession. You will be cleared. Everything will be fine. But fight me now, and I will make sure you lose everything before I go. I have nothing to lose, Rene. Do you? I showed the text to Sarah. She read it and looked at me with tears in her eyes. She is dying, Sarah said. Maybe we should just wait 6 months. 6 months where I cannot see my parents, where CPS is investigating us, where I have no job, where our kids think I am crazy. Sarah had no answer. That night, Tommy asked me if I was a bad person. Emma would not hug me goodnight. Sarah slept in the guest room again. I sat in my office, thinking about how Jessica had won. She was dying, but she had beaten me completely. Maybe I should just accept it. Accept the loss. Accept the injustice. Wait for her death, and hope she kept her word about the confession. But then I remembered something. A conversation from 5 years ago. Mom had given me the account number over the phone, but she had also emailed me. I had asked her to email me confirmation, so I had it in writing. Did I still have that email? I opened my laptop and started searching. I went through my old email accounts. I searched for account number. I searched for mom. I searched for transfer. I went back 5 years, then 6, looking for any paper trail that Jessica could not fake. It was 3 in the morning when I found it. The email was from 5 years and 2 months ago. Subject line: account info for your help. From mom's email address to mine. I clicked it open with shaking hands. Dear Rene, thank you for offering to help us with bills. Here is our account information. Routing number. Then she had written the numbers. Account number. Then those numbers. The routing number was different from what Jessica had set up. It matched my parents' real bank account. The email ended, "Love, Mom." I had it. Proof that Mom had given me the correct account information. Proof that the account Jessica set up was not the account Mom intended. I kept searching. There had to be more. Another email from Mom, 3 years and 1 month ago. She had written, "Jessica asked about our finances today. I did not mention you have been helping us. She gets jealous of your success sometimes." This email was dated 2 weeks before Jessica allegedly got power of attorney. Mom was clearly of sound mind, writing coherent emails, making decisions about what information to share with whom. This was not a confused elderly woman who needed someone to take over her finances. I logged into my old bank account. I had changed banks 2 years ago, but the old account was still accessible online. I downloaded 5 years' worth of statements. The first 6 months of transfers went to one routing number, my parents' real account. Then suddenly, in month 7, the routing number changed in my automatic payment setup. I had never changed it manually. Someone had accessed my account and changed it. I called the old bank's fraud department. They investigated and found that someone had logged into my online banking from an IP address that was not mine. The login had correctly answered the security question. Mother's maiden name. Jessica would know that answer. The IP address traced back to a public library near Jessica's house. I had evidence of unauthorized access to my bank account. Next, I looked at the power of attorney documents again. The notary's signature was from someone named Martha Westfield. I searched online and found her. She was a notary public in Phoenix. I called her. "Miss Westfield," I said, "my name is Rene Morrison. I need to ask you about a document you notarized 3 years ago." "I would need to see the document," she said. I described it. Power of attorney for Frank and Linda Morrison, signed by them, with Jessica Morrison as the attorney, in fact. She asked me to send her a photo of the notary seal and signature. I did. She called me back an hour later. "Mr. Morrison," she said, "I never notarized that document. That is my stamp. But I did not notarize anything for anyone named Morrison 3 years ago. I keep detailed records. This is forgery. Will you provide an affidavit stating that?" "Absolutely. People forge notary signatures more often than you would think. I take this very seriously." I compiled everything into one file. The original email from Mom with the correct account numbers. The email showing Mom's clear mental state before the alleged power of attorney. The bank records showing someone had accessed my account without authorization. The IP address evidence pointing to Jessica's area. The notary's affidavit stating the documents were forged. And I added the medical records I had found in Jessica's trash, showing her diagnosis timeline matched exactly when the fraud began. I took everything to Detective Patterson. He sat at his desk and went through the file page by page. When he finished, he looked up at me. "This changes everything," he said. "This is clear fraud and identity theft. Multiple counts. Can you arrest her? I will get a warrant." He paused. "Mr. Morrison, I need you to understand something. Your sister is very sick. The judge may be lenient because of that. I just want the truth to come out. I want my name cleared." The warrant was issued the next day. Detective Patterson asked me to come along when they executed it. We went to Jessica's house in the afternoon. Her kids would be at school. The detective knocked on the door. Jessica answered. She was wearing a headscarf. She had lost her hair from chemo. She looked so weak, so fragile. When she saw me standing behind Detective Patterson, her face went pale. "You could not just let it go," she said. "I am dying. And you could not just ask for help," I said. "You had to destroy me." Detective Patterson read her rights. He told her she was under arrest for identity theft, forgery, fraud, and elder exploitation. Jessica leaned against the doorframe. "Her kids," she said. "They are at school. They get out at 3. "We will make sure they are taken care of," the detective said. He put handcuffs on her. She looked at me as he led her to the police car. "I hope you feel good about this," she said. "I hope sending a dying woman to jail makes you proud." I did not feel good. I felt sick. But I also felt vindicated. The truth was finally coming out. After Jessica was processed, Detective Patterson took all the evidence to the APS and CPS investigators. He showed them everything: the forged documents, the bank fraud, the identity theft, the manipulation, and lies. Both investigations into me were immediately closed. The CPS worker called to apologize for the stress they had caused. The APS investigator closed the case against me. The restraining order was lifted. I could finally see my parents again. I drove to their house that evening. Mom answered the door. When she saw me, she burst into tears and threw her arms around me. "I am so sorry," she said. "I am so sorry we doubted you." I hugged her back. Dad came to the door, looking older than I remembered. He shook my head. "Your mother and I owe you an apology," he said. "We should have trusted you from the start." We sat in their living room for hours. I showed them all the evidence, the original emails, the bank records, everything. Mom kept crying. "You were helping us all along," she said, "and we thought you had forgotten about us." "I never forgot," I said. Dad asked what would happen to Jessica. I told them about the arrest, the charges. Mom put her face in her hands. "She is still our daughter," she said, "even after what she did." "I know," I said. But Mom also said they needed to call their lawyer. They wanted to rewrite their will. They wanted to make sure both Jessica's kids and my kids would be taken care of fairly. That Jessica would not get everything just because she had manipulated them. My employer called me the next day. Gary said they had been informed that all charges and investigations were dropped. He asked me to come back to work. He offered back pay for the time I had been suspended. He apologized for doubting me. Sarah and I went to counseling. She apologized for not fighting harder for me. I told her I understood. She had been scared, trying to protect our kids. We both cried. We both committed to rebuilding our marriage. It would take time, but we would get through this. The credit bureaus removed the fraudulent accounts from my report. My credit score started climbing back up. The loan companies were still pursuing Jessica for the money, but that was not my problem anymore. But then, Jessica made one final move. From jail, she contacted a lawyer. She used her cancer diagnosis to negotiate a plea deal. She agreed to make full restitution. She admitted to everything publicly. In exchange, she got house arrest instead of prison. The judge was sympathetic to her terminal illness and the fact that she had young children. She would spend her final months at home with her kids instead of in a cell. I did not know how to feel about that. Part of me wanted her to suffer like I had suffered. Part of me was relieved she would not die in jail. Jessica was released to house arrest 2 weeks after her arrest. She was required to wear an ankle monitor. She could not leave her home except for medical appointments. She had to pay restitution, though everyone knew she had no money to pay it. The court would take it from her estate after she died, which meant from whatever she might have left for her kids. I did not see her for a month after that. I focused on rebuilding my life. I went back to work and poured myself into my job, determined to prove I was still good at what I did. Gary gave me extra responsibilities, showing he trusted me again. My coworkers apologized for the gossip and doubt. Things slowly returned to normal at the office. At home, Sarah and I attended counseling every week. We talked through the trauma of the past few months. The therapist helped us understand how the stress had affected our communication, our trust in each other. Sarah admitted she had been ready to leave. She had looked up divorce lawyers, started planning how to split custody of the kids, but she had decided to stay and fight for our marriage instead. Tommy and Emma were in counseling too. They needed help processing everything that had happened. The CPS visits had scared them. They had been confused by all the adult conflict. The therapist helped them understand that none of it was their fault. My parents came over for dinner every Sunday. They were trying to make up for doubting me. Mom would hug me extra tight when she arrived. Dad would slip me money, insisting I take it even though I told him I did not need it. They felt guilty, and I did not know how to make them stop feeling that way. Extended family members reached out one by one. Cousin Amanda sent flowers with an apology note. Uncle Robert took me out for coffee and said he should have listened to my side of the story. Aunt Patricia cried when she called me. They all felt terrible for believing Jessica's lies. I forgave them. What else could I do? They had been manipulated just like everyone else. But I could not stop thinking about Jessica, dying alone in her house with an ankle monitor. Her kids, knowing their mother was a criminal. I felt angry at her for what she had done, but I also felt this strange, uncomfortable pity. 6 weeks after her house arrest began, I drove to her house. I do not know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed to understand. I knocked on her door. She answered. She had lost more weight. The headscarf was gone. She had just a thin layer of hair growing back, patchy and gray. She looked like she had aged 20 years. "What do you want?" she asked. "To talk." She let me in. Her house was clean but felt sad. Medical equipment in the corner. Pill bottles lined up on the kitchen counter. Photos of her kids everywhere. She sat down carefully on the couch, moving like everything hurt. "How long do you have?" I asked. "Doctor says maybe 2 months. Maybe less." "I am sorry." She laughed, bitter. "Are you? Are you really sorry?" "I am sorry you are dying." "I am not sorry the truth came out." She was quiet for a long moment. "I know what I did was wrong," she finally said. "I knew it while I was doing it. But I was desperate. My ex-husband is useless. My kids would have nothing after I died. Our parents' house would have gone to you. You have everything. A wife, a career, a future. I had 6 months and 2 kids who needed to be taken care of. So you decided to destroy my life instead. I did not mean for it to get that far. It spiraled. Every time you pushed, I had to push back harder. Every time you found evidence, I had to cover it up with more lies. It became this thing I could not stop. You could have stopped. You could have just told me the truth. I would have helped you. Would you have given me $100,000? I do not know. Maybe not that much. But something. We could have figured it out together. She shook her head. I did not want your pity. I did not want your charity. I just wanted my kids to be okay. We sat there in silence. Her kids would be home from school soon. I needed to leave before they got there. I stood up. "I could sue you," I said. "I could take everything. Your house, your savings, even the life insurance you have for your kids." "I know," she said. Her voice was flat, resigned. "But I am not going to." She looked up at me, surprised. "Your kids are losing their mother. That is punishment enough. They should not lose everything else, too. The money I sent to Mom and Dad, I will get that back through their inheritance eventually anyway. The loans in my name, those will get discharged. My credit is already recovering, so I am not going to pursue a civil suit against you. Why? Because someone has to be the bigger person, and it is not going to be you." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "I am not doing it for you. I am doing it for your kids." I left before she could respond. On the drive home, I thought about what the therapist had told me. Sometimes, the greatest victory is not in crushing your enemy. Sometimes, it is in choosing mercy when you have the power to destroy. Over the next 2 months, things continued to improve. My credit score climbed back to where it had been. Sarah and I grew closer. The kids started smiling again. My parents visited more often. Work was going well. Life was getting back to normal. I let my kids visit Jessica a few times. Tommy and Emma spent time with their aunt and cousins. The kids were too young to understand the full story. They just knew Aunt Jessica was very sick. Jessica thanked me each time I brought them over. She was grateful, I could tell. Grateful that I was not punishing her children for her crimes. She died on a Tuesday morning in March. Hospice had moved into her house the week before. Her kids were at school when it happened. Mom called me to tell me. She was crying on the phone. I know what she did was terrible, Mom said. But she was still my daughter. I know, I said. I helped plan the funeral. I made sure her children knew their mother had loved them. I did not tell them the whole truth about what she had done. Maybe someday they would find out, but not from me. At the funeral, I gave a eulogy. I talked about Jessica as a sister, as a mother, as someone who made terrible choices out of desperation and love for her children. I did not excuse what she did, but I also did not vilify her. She was human, flawed and desperate and dying. She had hurt me terribly, but she had also been in pain. After the funeral, my parents took me aside. They had made arrangements for Jessica's kids. The children would split time between their father and my parents. My parents were getting older, but they wanted to help raise them. They also told me they had rewritten their will again. Everything would be split evenly. Half to me, half to Jessica's kids. The house would be sold, and the money divided. That is fair, I said. Your father and I also want to pay you back for all the money you sent us over the years that we never got. We know you lost that helping us. You do not have to do that. We want to. It is only right. 6 months after Jessica died, life had found a new rhythm, not the same as before, better in some ways. I had learned things about myself, about my family, about forgiveness and justice, things I wish I had not had to learn that way, but things that made me stronger. My parents did pay me back. They sold some investments they had been holding on to and gave me $30,000. It was not the full $73,000 I had lost, but it helped. Sarah and I used it to rebuild our emergency fund. We used some of it to take the kids on a vacation to Disney World. Tommy and Emma needed happy memories after everything they had been through. Work was better than ever. Gary promoted me to senior accountant. He said the firm valued loyalty and integrity, and I had demonstrated both. The raise that came with the promotion helped us get ahead financially for the first time in years. Sarah and I were stronger together. We had been through something terrible and survived it. We communicated better now. We did not take each other for granted. Every Sunday morning, we had coffee together on the back porch while the kids slept in. We would talk about the week ahead, about our plans, about our gratitude for what we had. The kids were doing well too. Tommy made the honor roll at school. Emma joined the soccer team. They still saw their cousins regularly. My parents would have all 4 kids over on Saturdays sometimes. Jessica's children were adjusting. They missed their mother. They would always miss her, but they were surrounded by family who loved them. Extended family gatherings were less awkward now. Cousin Amanda and I were close again. Uncle Robert and I went to baseball games together. Aunt Patricia babysat our kids when Sarah and I needed date nights. The family had healed, mostly. There were still some cousins who felt uncomfortable around me. Some who thought I should have just let everything go, should have let Jessica die in peace without involving the police. But most of them understood now. Most of them had apologized. I thought about Jessica sometimes. Late at night, when I could not sleep, I would think about her desperation, her fear of leaving her children with nothing. I tried to imagine what I would do if I were dying and worried about Tommy and Emma's future. Would I steal? Would I lie? Would I destroy someone else's life to protect theirs? I wanted to think I would not. I wanted to believe I would find another way, but I honestly did not know. Desperation makes people do terrible things. One evening, I was sitting on the back porch with Sarah. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The kids were inside watching a movie. Sarah reached over and took my hand. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Fighting back against Jessica?" "No," I said. "She was destroying our family. I had to stop her. Even though she was dying, the truth mattered. Justice mattered. Our kids needed to see that you do not just let people hurt you because they have a sad story." Sarah nodded. "I think you did the right thing. It was hard, but it was right." I thought about the life lesson in all of this. What had I learned? That family manipulation is insidious because it exploits your love and loyalty. You want to believe the best in family members. You want to trust them. So you ignore red flags. You make excuses. You give them chances they do not deserve. I learned to document everything, even with family, maybe especially with family. Those old emails saved me. That paper trail proved the truth when everyone doubted me. I learned that justice is not always satisfying. Jessica got house arrest instead of prison. She died before paying full restitution. Her kids got to keep their mother's life insurance money. Some people might say she got away with it. But she died. She lost everything. Her children grew up knowing their mother was a criminal. That was its own punishment. I learned you can fight for truth and still choose mercy. I could have taken everything from Jessica's children. I had the legal right. But mercy was more powerful than revenge. Her kids did not deserve to suffer for their mother's crimes. I learned that my worth was not measured by whether my parents appreciated me. For months, they had believed Jessica over me. That hurt. It hurt more than the stolen money. But their doubt did not change who I was. I knew the truth about myself. That was enough. Most importantly, I learned that the greatest victory is protecting your immediate family. My wife, my children. That was what mattered most. Everything I did to protect them. To clear my name so my kids did not grow up thinking their father was a criminal. To save my marriage. To keep my job so I could provide for them. That was the real win. Sarah squeezed my hand. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. The past year. How close we came to losing it all. But we did not lose it. We survived. We more than survived. We are stronger now." She smiled. "We are." Inside, Tommy called out that the movie was over. Emma was asking for popcorn. Normal, everyday family moments. The kind of moments I had almost lost. The kind of moments that mattered more than anything. I stood up and helped Sarah to her feet. We walked inside together. Our kids ran over for hugs. My parents were coming for dinner tomorrow. Life was good. Not perfect. Still healing. But good. People will try to use your love against you if they are desperate enough. That is what I learned. Family, friends, anyone who knows what you care about will exploit that if they are hurting badly enough. You have to protect yourself. Document everything. Trust but verify. Even with family. Maybe especially with family. But you also have to remember that hurt people hurt people. Jessica was wrong. What she did was terrible and criminal and inexcusable. But she was also a dying mother trying to provide for her children. Understanding that did not excuse her actions. But it helped me forgive her. Not forget, never forget, but forgive. Justice matters. Truth matters. Standing up for yourself matters. But mercy matters too. Choosing when to fight and when to show grace. That is wisdom. I won my fight. I cleared my name. I protected my family. I got my job back. My marriage survived. My kids are okay. That is victory. Not the revenge fantasy where your enemy suffers and you feel satisfied. The real, complicated victory where you do what is right even when it is hard. Where you fight for justice and then choose mercy. where you protect what matters most. And what matters most? The people sitting in your living room right now, the spouse holding your hand, the kids asking for popcorn, the parents coming for dinner tomorrow. The life you build together after the storm passes. That is what I learned. That is what I know now. And I hope I never have to learn it again. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone close to you betray your trust? Maybe not to this extent, but in some way that made you question everything. How did you handle it? Did you fight back or let it go? And looking back, do you think you made the right choice? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want to hear more stories like this. And if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss future stories. I share new stories every week about real-life struggles and triumphs. And please, share this story with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who is going through family conflict or betrayal. Someone who needs to know they are not alone in fighting for the truth. Your share could be exactly what someone needs today. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it was long and painful in places, but I hope it helped you in some way. I hope it reminded you that you are stronger than you think, that truth matters, that justice is worth fighting for, and that mercy is a choice you get to make from a position of strength. Take care of yourselves, protect your families, document everything, trust but verify, and remember that the greatest victory is not crushing your enemies. It is protecting the people you love and choosing grace when you have the power to destroy. Thank you again. Until next time, stay strong and stay true to yourself.